Everyone to Unit 2 of the Excel course guide for intermediate users. In this unit, we'll be talking about formula referencing. The key concept we'll be talking about and the key differential is between relative versus absolute referencing. So if you're not sure what that means, that's okay. Let's dive straight into it. So here we have a good example of a Sumif formula. Now, if you're not familiar with the Sumif formula, what this formula does, as we can see an example here, is it looks within a range of numbers. Okay, so that's the first thing here. It looks for the range. Then you tell Excel what it's looking for. In this case, we're looking for cell F14, which is clutch. So we're looking for all the instances of clutch in here. So the instances of clutch in there, let me just visualize this for you, is there and there. And then what SUMIF does then is it sums everything in the sum range per those two criteria. So it's going to sum this one and this one. Okay, so and the answer is going to be 330, which is the sum of those two. Now let's deconstruct this formula. So as you can see, there are no dollar signs in this formula. So what that means is this formula is completely relative. There is no absolute criteria or ranges in here. Because a dollar sign, I'll give you an example here, or like this, is what signifies an absolute range or cell reference. Now the general rule for this is below. So there's three options for any cell or range, and they look like this. So the first option is between the column and the row reference is a dollar sign before both, and that means that both the column is locked, I should say absolute, but I'm going to say locked because it's easier to understand, and number two, the row is also locked. And when I say locked, what that means is when you copy that across, either up, down, left, or right, it means both of the column and the row reference do not change when it is copied or moved. Now, let me give you an example of that. So right now, because we have no dollar signs in here, what that means is if we copy it across, everything's going to move across corresponding to how I'm moving the cell. So if I move this formula one cell to the right, I'll go Control C and Control V and pasting that. Now, as you remember in the beginner's course, which you should have either watched or are familiar with the concepts in it already, it basically means because I haven't copied the value up here, which is here, what I've done is I've just pasted it, which by default is the formulas because I've already got a formula in this cell. It means the formula has copied across one cell over here to the right. Now, if we look at the difference by double-clicking on the formula, we can see where the sum ranges, where the range and the sum range have moved, as well as the criteria. So let's just see. So the range is here in column C, the sum range is in column E, and the criteria is in column F. Now, if I double-click on this one, you can see that the range has moved one across to the right, and it means the sum range has moved across one to the right, and the criteria has moved across one to the right. That is because none of them are locked. Now let's go back to the examples again. So the next option is we lock just the row. That means when we copy it across, the row does not change, but the column will change. And vice versa for the last option, which is we lock the column, and it means the column does not change when copied. So let's go through each of those different examples. So the first one is we're going to lock everything. Now what you can do is you can put a dollar sign manually before everything like that, or the faster way is you select everything and you press F4 on your keyboard. Now what you'll see is now that everything has a dollar sign before it. You can press F4 a few times actually. So let's press F4 one more time and see what happens. So now you can see that the dollar sign before the C or the letter has disappeared, but the dollar sign before the number has remained in everything that I've highlighted. That means that when I copy it across, the row will stay the same, but the column will move. Now, you might not understand visually what that means yet, but let's just talk about the concept. And as long as you understand the concept, then we'll understand in a practical example, and it will all make sense soon. Okay, and then let's just finish off this point. Let's press F4 one last time.